name's Joshua. I really love to make anything three-dimensional. For me, art has always been just something that I could really push myself to try different things. I considered going on a lot of different pathways in terms of like, science or engineering or whatever. But art was something that I really felt I could do whatever I wanted. And so that was always really exciting to me. I come from the South. I was born in Alabama and raised there, and Georgia all my life. So this is my first time not really living in the South per se for like an extended period of time, which has been interesting. For me, going into like high school was like a big turning point for like doing art. Like when I was growing up, I wasn't like the artist of the family, but I was interested in it, and it was mostly so I could figure out how to draw dogs, which I never learned. But in the end, it was just like, I'll take these art classes, and I had this really amazing high school art teacher, and she just knew so much and was really open to teaching us like everything. So like we didn't just do drawing and painting, like we did darkroom photography and printmaking and ceramics and watercolor and textiles and design. It was just like kind of everything. And by the end of high school, it was like, I really just want to do art. And then I've always been interested in like natural science, biology, and like animals and like the earth and everything, and geology. And so I've always, I think, also kind of had that subconsciously and consciously like imbued into my work as I move forward. So, all of that kind of coming together to where I am now, those origins were very important in kind of like setting that up, the foundation of like how I consider art and what I do in it. Her teaching and then my ability to explore in it combined really opened the door for me to say, this is really like my path, I think when I finally committed was like in terms of like really saying like, this is what I'm gonna do no matter what I tell others, was like probably senior year of high school. And so from there, just kind of like grew from there when I went into undergrad and like kept reaffirming like, this is really what I wanna do, I think one great thing about art education is that like, if you don't really have as much interaction with art or know how to interact with it, it really opens you up into understanding just how like diverse and varied it is, being in high school and not really knowing what art could be and finding out all the things, where I think myself and a lot of artists included struggle to know what opportunities are really even there to begin with to ask about, that I think some institutions just don't even think about the fact that people don't know. I went to Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia for a Bachelor's of Fine Art. For a moment, I was doing Bachelor of Art, and then they were like, if you want to do an MFA, you should do a BFA. And I was like, okay, so then I went back to BFA. And so it was like an advanced version of high school except the end, but like it was really just a way to explore everything. Like, I took classes in pretty much every medium I could, and we had really great like artists come to visit and give different like ideas of like what art is, and had really cool shows to like explore and understand. And the area had a great museum that had a really great collection of American works, and so it was just kind of this culmination of like this great community for art with this great education for art, with like all of these artists like cementing that further and further. And then by the end, we were able to actually have our own studio in our senior year, kind of like an MFA. And so like you would like build up your work in your studio and like have a thesis exhibition and everything. And so, just kind of having them say like, you're responsible for this is kind of what being an artist is going to be like, try it out, and like doing that and seeing how it went, and like really enjoying the whole process and the community of it. For me, higher education was the organizer of it, right? Like I didn't really know, like I said, like with high school, like it was something where I didn't have the understanding or the knowledge to like connect to these different ideas. And so same with college to a further degree, it was like the professors and the department were able to connect me to all these opportunities that I didn't know existed, that I could like gain from like studying abroad and learning about art in other countries, like having art assistantships with other artists and seeing how they work and like helping them to do that, like organizing exhibitions in the community where there's this space that we can turn into a gallery and like put art in and have people come to and enjoy. So, they were really just like the leaders in helping me to know what the opportunities were and helping guide me to say like, this could be a stepping stone for you, this could be a stepping stone for you. And so I was able to work with the community and make public sculpture and like put that out, and I was able to help organize exhibitions. And so from there it was just like obvious that the higher education and the community were working in tandem together to really like grow opportunity for students and non-students to enjoy, see, and like do art, you know. And that was really an incredible thing to see, important to like acknowledge. My university had a really great study abroad program foundation. They had a lot of grants and scholarships. They had a lot of connections with multiple international communities, with professors in both places, like knowing and being friends with each other. Mm-hmm. And I went to the one in Italy where we were able to stay in Florence for about a month and see Venice and Padua and just really understand the history of the art world from those very important historical references. And then beyond that, we were kind of able to kind of connect this cultural reference of how this area and the history of this place shaped the art world as a whole. Yeah. So it was a really great time to be able to kind of see all of that. One thing it did was just like reaffirm the whole you can do anything. At the time, I was really starting to develop what I would do for my senior year thesis work and everything. And before going, I didn't have like a super concrete plan. I had some ideas that I've been working on, but I didn't really know exactly where they would go. And I think that the work that I was able to see and the experience that I was able to have just kind of like helped me to have the energy and the drive and like the motivation to push for the kind of work that I was thinking of doing and really just get in the studio and start to develop it. When I was a gallery coordinator for an art center that I worked at before coming here for a few years full time, and so that was interesting in seeing some ways of how the art world works with how exhibitions come in and out and how they're curated and made years in advance, and how local shows can work with like open calls and whatnot, and how that can support people's careers. And then also like programming, connecting like artists to the people that they need to be connected to. UConn was always a top school for me with how it was funded and how the studios were. So when I got the offer, I was like, yes. And then as far as like what I'm doing, I mean, I'm focused in sculpture ceramics. I'm really able to explore different things with courses they provide on top of like just doing my own work. So last semester we had a printmaking course and I was able to explore screen printing and what that was about, because it's one of the only types of printmaking I haven't done. For me, some of the challenges were beyond finding time. It was also kind of making sure that you're using that time wisely. Like you can have all the time in the world, but if you're not really putting it to good use, then what are you doing? And so with my work being ceramic and with facilities being there, but my studio being here, that causes some like interesting rifts in how I make, but also how I get the process completed. My work right now, I'm really trying to explore this idea of space again, and this idea of like dimensionality, and how I can put in these ideas of these systems, both like natural systems that I feel are important to recognize and understand in relation to us, and then also like human systems that really maybe like influence the world in ways that we might not fully understand, or that are actually like hurtful to how we experience our lives, and kind of putting those into this idea of space affecting the individual within like the sphere of the world that they're in. I am contributing to like a benefit exhibition right now where it's like work that is sold to support scholarships and whatnot. So I use Cafe, which is call for entry. There's also artistcommunities.org. There's one called Art Show. There's one called like Art Rapid, I think. I think that the word art and the word manager don't necessarily click. I feel like most people in the art world would see management of their work, especially disconnected from themselves, as maybe either insulting or like objectively like hard to stomach. I'm grateful that I'm in a relationship that is two artists, you know, in that we can support each other in a very healthy way. And I think also like building a community for yourself is important, and that's better to me than any gallery. I think that the people that really benefit from art management and like gallery work are really just people that cannot work out the skills to do all of that stuff. I feel like there are artists that really cannot figure out how to get their work in places without direct support from others, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's a great reason for art management and galleries that represent to exist. I think identity is a really interesting word. I've always found it to be important to understand, and I do feel like I'm slowly identifying more about myself. Some labels, I guess, that I would give myself are things like being gay, being neurodivergent, being Southern, and those all influence me in different ways. Being gay and having been in the closet and then coming out, it's like you kind of understand what limiting yourself is like, and also what people's thoughts of you or what you are can be limiting. And so, you know, there's that similar instance with art where you are or what you are surrounded with can really influence how you can break out of your shell to make what you want. My ADHD, among other things, has kept me going in different ways, so to speak. And so I think that directly influences my work, which is part of why I love art, right? I don't have to stay to a flow of always doing research papers or always making schematics. Like I can really go into things in whatever way I want. I think success to me is really about being content with your work in whatever that means. So for me, that would be, I think, just really being able to make and do not much else. My main thing is that there is an art world today that is very complex, and we shouldn't discount anyone in it. We should just understand that we all have our roles and that we all have a way of supporting each other, and we should do that whenever possible.